What's up, everybody? Welcome to Investing in Cannabis. I'm your host, Brandon David. Welcome to Seattle. Welcome to the future. We are in one of the few states in the U.S. that are recreational, full adult use. We've taken a road trip up here to feature some of the founders, the investors, the lawmakers, the growers. It's been an amazing time. It's what California has to look forward to. Tune in, listen up, get acquainted. Trek, thanks so much for having us here. Amazing, dope office. We're in Seattle. There's an amazing backdrop behind us. Tremendous hospitality. Thanks for doing it. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Appreciate you guys coming out here.
So I think most people know Dope Magazine, but I was looking at the website last night. You guys do a lot of different stuff. You gonna take me through the different pieces of Dope?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we started as a magazine, Dope Magazine, defending our patients everywhere. And it's kind of evolved into defending our plant everywhere. But outside of the magazine, our two main verticals would be our events and our product lines and our curation of products. So our two main events are the Dope Industry Awards and the Dope Cup. Dope Cup's, real similar, like High Times Cannabis Cup, except for, we put our dope spin on it. We throw around the term.
People submit products, strains, and then you have judges. They pick the best ones.
Yep, have judges. And last year we did our 5th annual Dope Cup here in, or not last year, in April we did our 5th annual Dope Cup here in Seattle, and first ever medical and recreational cannabis cup in the world.
Oh, nice.
With consumption on site.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. And do you get to be a judge for that? That sounds like a tough job.
I don't. They would think that it would probably be
conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. Exactly,
I don't think so. It's your deal, whatever. Give me a feeling for sort of the scale of the magazine. What's the readership like? I know you're in all of the major markets, but give me a sense for the scale of the reach.
Yeah, for sure. So exciting, awesome news for us. This February we launched nationally. So we're now in 24 states, a little over 100,000 copies a month, a little over 2,000 direct distribution points as far as medical, recreational, dispensaries, co-ops, depending on where you live. And then we have localized markets. So Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Northern California, Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada have a local magazine.
Got it.
Where it's specific for them. It's still got the same national plate in it, so you get all that national information, but then it's got additional...
So it's like a double issue because you're in that area.
Yep, and then it'll be specific for that issue. So, in Nevada, you're talking about, the new laws and new regulations. Washington, you're talking about, how the rec stores are and the fact that we just, last month hit $1 billion in revenue in what's it been 18, 19 months, something like that. Yep. So yeah, it's cool.
Fascinating that you divide Northern and Southern California. I'm a Californian. I have to ask, how does that decision come down?
It was a battle back and forth. Some of us said California's its own place. Some of us said California's 5 places.
Yeah.
And we're almost wanted to do Northern, Central, and Southern California. And to be honest, it really came because of the localized edition. So we just found that when we went to the communities and talked to them, the Northern California community and being, up by Sacramento was a lot different than, down in San Diego and LA, and kind of how the climate and
there's plenty of content.
Yeah, and there's plenty of content, plenty of stores, and at the same time, it's so huge that the guy who's got a dispensary down in LA is not really concerned about advertising to the guy who lives up in Sacramento.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a little bit of advertisers and content and just the size of the market.
That makes sense. Yeah, tell me a little bit about the content selection process. What's the editorial team like, and who do they decide what to feature? How do they decide?
We've got an amazing editorial team led up by one of the co-founders, Evan Carter, and he runs the entire magazine side of the business. He's the president of the magazine, and then we've got a couple amazing supporting staff. Our team kind of figures out what's, obviously our finger's always on the pulse. So, what's important national news, what's going on, what's, the hottest thing, trending, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, we really try to dig into what's going on in a specific community. Are there any initiatives coming out? Are there any, crazy trials where patients are, getting arrested, or, children, not being able to have access to their medicine. And then we also do, through our website and other platforms, have submission options where people can kind of say, hey, we just saw about this. Someone should be talking about it. Why isn't anybody talking about this? So.
And then you have these great reoccurring columnists. I know Debbie Goldsberry, a friend of mine from the Bay Area, does one. How did that kind of get started? I mean, you just reach out to these people individually and say?
So that kind of started really when the magazine first started, and we sat down and said, how are we going to build this magazine? What does it look like? And we decided on, okay, we should, create some reoccurring sections, patient of the month, co-op of the month, grow of the month, strain of the month. And obviously it's evolved, and that's kind of the evolution of it is, things like that. And like I said, sometimes people contact us and say, hey, I'd love to do, this, year-long piece on, road trips throughout California, or I think right now we're doing a piece that's, I believe, only online because of time sensitive, but it's a gentleman who's biking from Washington down to California, and he's just, stopping along the way and hitting dispensaries and grows.
Tourism.
Yeah, can of tourism, right?
Yeah, very,
By
very
bike.
Cool. By bike. So one thing that I think about a lot, being that we're media and we get out to the world and we kind of spread the good word, is the way in which we position the cannabis industry. I mean, I very much think there's a right way to talk about it and a wrong way to talk about it. And if we're going to pull it out of the black market fully, now thankfully in Seattle you're a little further along than we are in California, but there is still a black market for cannabis here. We've got to do this in a professional way. I mean, do you guys think about that? I mean, what are the standards, sort of the ethics that you operate around here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, integrity is one of the most important things that we talk about here all the time.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you. And we think there's a huge difference between medical marijuana, medical cannabis, and recreational cannabis. And that's something that we try to pay a lot of attention to. And like you mentioned, we're in Washington. We're in a bit of a bubble. And we have to constantly remind ourselves that just because we don't see what we saw 3-4 years happening here to patients and happening doesn't mean that everywhere else it's not happening.
Yeah.
And
because it is happening.
It is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
It's insane. And it's like we say, you're in a bubble kind of in Washington and Colorado and now Oregon a little bit. So that's important to us, and paying attention and making sure that we run the magazine with integrity, we represent the industry with integrity, and we work on building an industry that does come out of the shadows and shows that it's got business professionals, it's got people that are passionate about this plant, it's got people that this plant saves lives, saves family members' lives, and it's a plant that people like to consume and get high and hang around their house instead of having a glass of wine, or maybe with a glass of wine.
Yeah, I think it's so important for the rest of the world to realize that that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That there are people that do real shit with their lives. That's the way I am. That's the way you are. That's the way my team is. And then they like to have some cannabis as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that big of a deal. And I think people just fail to see that. They see there's this taboo kind of black thing. Yeah. Anyway.
I think it's that it's that stigma that it's always had, where for some reason you can't explain it. You can even have a conversation with them and have this conversation we're having, and they get it. A week later, their old patterns kick up, and they just so can't comprehend that it's. I mean, what's the difference between having a glass of wine, which, in my opinion, is more different and has harmed countless more people than smoking a joint in your house ever will.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the important pieces of doing this in the right way, I think, is the syntax and words that we use. Right?
Yeah.
So I try to use the word cannabis as much as possible. I think that's sort of the best sort of scientific word for it, right? But I hear pot all the time. I hear weed. I say weed too sometimes. But how do you think about that? And then dope, right? as a name. I mean, dope has a lot of connotations. How did you guys arrive on that name?
So it was a phone call that we had, and a little bit of the backstory to it.
Take us back to that.
So myself and David Tran, our CEO and co-founder, and I believe Nathan Chrysler, another one of the co-founders, we're sitting in the lobby of our co-op at the time, Conscious Care Cooperative, and I had known Wes of Northwest Leaf at the time, and we had been throwing around this concept. Well, he actually, was throwing around the concept to me about a magazine. We were thinking about a magazine. We talked about working together. Didn't. I was sitting there with Tran, and Tran was like, God, there's nowhere to advertise. At the time, there was a small little booklet. There's no information. There's nothing. He looked at his coffee table, and he's like, there's no information here. And at the time, he was friends with James and Evan. And they, at the time, had a magazine, D-List, which was a local nightlife, bar, that kind of scene, food, wine magazine that they'd been running for 6 years. And we called them up and asked them if they wanted to go grab sushi for lunch real quick. And we went and grabbed lunch and sketched out the concept of the magazine on a napkin, asked them if they thought it could work. They said, yeah, we can get it done. We said, all right, well, we want it done in 3 weeks to launch it.
They said yes on the spot.
On the spot, yeah. And, well, in theory, they said yes on the spot.
Okay.
We could do it. And we're like, all right, we got to get it done in 3 weeks because HempFest is in 3 weeks, and that's where we want to launch.
Okay.
And James said, well, we need a name. I said, all right, well, let's think about it. About 15, 20 minutes later, he calls us up and says, Dope Magazine. And, the name kind of hits you, right in the face, especially with all the, connotations and stuff around the word. And we thought about it as a chance to kind of show that it's a new industry. Dope doesn't mean to our generation,
retake the word.
Yeah, it doesn't mean smack or heroin or whatever it means. It means cool, hip, new, exciting, all these things. So we wanted to reclaim the word and reclaim this industry and reclaim this plant.
I love the word dope. I use that word.
Yeah.
Right. Not just for cannabis. This lunch is dope.
Yeah.
This day is dope. Your office is dope. Like, it's dope. But at the same time, I know that there are other people that just have such a negative connotation, and it is an older generation, right? And I think it's a really interesting trend of cannabis companies sort of poking fun at that, right? So I interviewed Anslinger Capital earlier today, right?
Another great name.
Harry Anslinger is like the first treasurer of the DEA or something, like totally anti-cannabis. The Gateway Incubator in Oakland, like they're kind of playing on that gateway. I love that. I love it. It's really cool.
Awesome. And it shows kind of the fun side of the industry a little bit. And like you said, kind of retaking this. There's been years of all this, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but, negative propaganda around the plant for whatever the reason may be. Everyone's got the reason of why, but it's kind of reclaiming it and retaking it and say, this is a medicine. This is an amazing way to wind down, better than a glass of wine or whatever it may be. So it's exciting.
So you pick the name.
Yep.
You get a prototype together for HempFest. I'm assuming.
Yep.
When do you get to the point where like, hey, this is a real business, and we need to find some investors? How do we take it to the next level? When does that kind of kick in from the MVP stage to?
Well, real quick, I want to say it was exciting too because we landed the mayor of Seattle on our first cover, Mayor McGinn, and he was speaking out at HempFest. So the name really got some attention because you can imagine the older generation and the people running against him seeing Mayor McGinn with the word dope over his head speaking at the HempFest.
Wow,
so
what a scene.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
But really, we...
So tremendous response from that initial event.
Oh, right off the bat, it was great, and it just kind of played on that word again. And we obviously have it defending our patients everywhere, so it's kind of hard for someone to poke fun at that too.
And this is like 2011, something like that, 2000,
Yep. And then so at the time, there was 5 founders. There was 5 of us doing everything. We all wore a different hat. I've run the sales department before. I've, done content before, did all the meetings, putting it all together. The 5 of us.
Cool.
James and Evan were still running D-List magazine.
Okay.
Been around for 6 years. Myself, Nate, and Tran were still running our dispensaries Conscious Care Cooperative, and this was kind of the side project. And it just grew and grew and got momentum and
took more and more of your time.
Sucked more and more of our time. And then eventually, James and Dave said, we got to sell D-List. This magazine's way better than that, which in a million years they would have never, thought at the time. And, we had some partners in the dispensaries and they kind of took that over and we just got sucked more into this. And, probably 2 years after the magazine was established, we really all sat down and kind of had that aha moment and decided, you know what, I think out of everything we're doing, this has the best potential. We're the most passionate about it. It allows us to touch this industry in so many ways. Let's all make this commitment together. We're going to give it 100%. And that's basically when it started. And, we started busting out business plans and digging deeper and deeper into it and raising a little bit of money here from a friend, a little bit of money there from a friend, and found one or two big investors, and you get these strategic partners, and really just started snowballing from there.
That's tremendous. I mean, I walk in your office here, and it's a bustling, like, vibrant environment. You have a pretty good sized team now, and it's just fascinating to me. I mean, most cannabis companies are infantile, right? They don't, office space is hard to get for some cannabis companies. How does it make you feel after, that conversation in that restaurant to be here with a full office? You're moving to a bigger office next week, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting. Sometimes we pinch ourselves because, the old saying, you do what you love, you never work your day in your life.
Yeah.
So, it feels great. It's amazing. It feels great to be able to, work with other people, employ people, give them a chance. Our employees, writers and photographers and people that went to business school, and now they can take that and take their MBA and apply it to cannabis, which they would have never imagined. So, it feels great. It's been quite a ride. And we look back too. I mean, we'll in this August we'll be 5 years old.
Wow.
So for the cannabis industry,
we've
been around for a while.
That's a very long time.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. What's kind of the culture here like? Well, first, maybe tell me a little bit about the team. How many people are on the team right now?
It varies because we've got not that it varies, but we've got our Seattle office, we've got our Colorado office, California and Oregon.
Okay.
And then we've got freelance writers and photographers. So I think the total team, if you include freelance and all that, is almost 70 people.
Wow.
And I think we've got about 50 in-office employees, and then here in Washington, 20 to 25. We're constantly growing, so it's.
And what's the culture like here every day? I mean, how big of a part is cannabis of this office?
It's a big part. We always say the dope lifestyle. You got to live the dope lifestyle. You got to be dope.
Well, that's part of the authenticity of it, right? Yeah.
And it's interesting to bring up cannabis involved with work, right? Because you imagine you work in the cannabis industry, is everyone just smoking weed and getting high all the time, and how could you not be? And it's hard to separate that and be like, hey, we're a business, You can't go down to your car every 5 minutes and smoke a joint. You've got, a magazine that's got to get out on time. You've got deadlines, so it's kind of a fine line between that. Obviously, everybody here is, besides maybe one or two employees, cannabis consumers, but at the same time, everybody here is business professionals and take it seriously.
So is there an official policy, or it's not something you really have to worry about?
It's not something you have to worry about. If you're a smart enough individual, you can control yourself.
Yeah, no, that's the overwhelming vibe that I get from companies, is that everybody's obviously very green powered, right? But it's never an issue. They get their shit done. Again, it goes back to sort of breaking down that stereotype.
Yeah.
There are lots of people in the world that are very successful, highly productive people that also like cannabis.
Yeah.
That's okay, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
some of our biggest clients when we had our dispensary were Microsoft employees.
Yeah.
And when we've got our design team locked in the room for hours, or for days before print, it's another story too. They smoke a couple blunts and have some great cannabis and zoom in on designing one of the covers for Cliff Robinson. I mean, you should see some of these pictures before we get
let's talk about some of this stuff that we have on the table here. So we got the 5950 snapback. That's pretty cool there. What is this? What are we looking at here?
So this is a Dope Industry Award.
Okay.
So that's one of the two main events we do. So the Dope Industry Awards is kind of like the Grammys for cannabis.
Yep.
First event of its kind, and this is where we reach out and recognize the people behind the industry. So, with things like Activist of the Year or Lifetime Achievement Award, which we call the Emery because it was first given to Mark Emery.
Okay.
Best Bud Tender. This one is...
Best Bud Tender.
Yeah, Best Bud Tender.
So you're nominated for that, or
yeah. So it's all nominations, basically there's a process where for I believe it's 1 month people can go online to the website and nominate anybody for the categories.
Okay.
And then once the nominations are in, I believe it's the top 10 most nominated, top 5, top 10. It depends on the state and the amount of nominations. And those are now the ones you get to vote on. And then for another month, voting opens, and people go online and vote for who they think their favorite bud tender is, or who they think the best grow is. And we keep it locked away in secret, and then have an awesome event where everybody dresses up in suits and ties, and just celebrates the
award
industry.
show.
Yeah,
like an award
it's great.
Cool. All right, moving on here.
Who was this one? I think this was
Best indoor grow.
give a little shout out to Solstice,
nice.
Best Indoor Grow.
Very nice.
And Dutch Masters, they were one of the sponsors.
Do you like indoor? You like outdoor? Where do you land on that?
The crazy debate on that.
Don't be PC here.
Yeah. Well, indoor came around because it had to.
Sure.
And outdoor is the future, in my opinion. Greenhouse probably, and very sophisticated outdoor, but it's hard to not want to work with, 10 million watt, 100 billion watt sun you got. But right now, there's definitely a difference in quality between indoor and outdoor, and usually the indoor product is of a higher quality right now.
Absolutely. And why is that? Why do you think that is?
I mean,
because I've had assorted outdoor strains that are great.
Yeah.
They really are good. But across the board, it just doesn't compare for me.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know exactly why.
Yeah.
I would imagine, I'm not an expert grower. I've grown for, almost 10 years, but, I'm learned in a basement.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I was actually taught by the owner of Solstice.
Cool. Cool.
And, environmental controls, I think, are probably a big part of it. Maybe the nutrients, the style of how it grows, the air, the dirt that maybe blows through the outdoor plant. I just, there's something about indoor that just tastes a little better, smells a little better.
It tastes more refined.
Yeah.
And I suppose it is in some ways, right? It's controlled and all of that. Interesting.
Sure, there's people that'll shoot me for saying that.
Me too. I say things that are largely unpopular.
I love it all, though.
Yeah. Okay, so what is this? What are we looking at here? This is a dope pen.
This is our dope pen. So it's a vaporizer.
Cool.
Yep, and we launched these 2 years ago or so. So it's a way for people to consume the product.
And who's manufacturing this for you?
We manufacture them out of China.
You do them yourself? Okay.
Yep,
cool.
yep, we do it all ourselves. Yeah. And every couple months we'll release a new line. Like this is obviously kind of our Hawaiian floral themed line.
Yeah. And
James,
this is the same thing, but just
yep, same one, just all white. Here's an all black version. The all white and the all black we have all the time, but every 3 months we'll pick a new design and put it out there. It lasts for 3 months. We usually do 10,000 of them. When they sold, they'll never be back again.
Never be back again.
Well, that's the plan. Maybe one day if we get an insane demand,
come back with the limited edition.
We'll bring back a limited edition,
like Nike does and stuff. Get the new colorway going. Yeah. Cool. What else do we have on this huge trophy here? What did you win this for?
This is the Dope Cup Washington Best Non-Solvent CBD Concentrate. If you're watching this, come pick up your trophy. That's for the Dope Cup. So we were talking about earlier, it's like the High Times Cannabis Cup. We throw a Dope Cup. We do it in Washington and Oregon, and we'll be expanding, down into Colorado, California, Arizona.
Very cool.
And it's just a cool experience. We try to put a little bit of a fun spin on it, where it's not just a cannabis cup. It's that lifestyle. We have cool concerts and
Yeah, and so. Obviously, the magazine is your biggest driver, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be the biggest revenue driver. But these other sort of ancillary streams, how's it going? I mean, they're relatively new.
Yeah, they're relatively new.
Yeah.
It goes great. I mean, our events is probably one of our favorite, and things that we get the most excited about because it's a way to showcase the industry. And here around Dope, we throw around lifestyle brand all the time, and sometimes there's a comparison between us and Red Bull as far as the fact that they've got their energy drink, but then they create this whole culture around their events and bring in that whole community that really doesn't have anywhere to go. I mean, where does a cannabis consumer go right now to have fun or to experience the cannabis lifestyle, especially if they're new to it?
Yep.
So we try to give them that avenue, give them that experience, put on a spot where they can go and feel comfortable and safe and just, love the cannabis lifestyle with us and be dope.
Yeah, very cool. And you're also working on a video product as well, right? Dope TV, did I see anything about that?
You know, there's rumors of Dope TV. You know, it's something we're looking at. Obviously, you know, being media, you know, we want to be able to go out there and take that to the next level. And, you know, when we're out at these conferences, be able to, you know, give people an outlet to express themselves through that. But, you know, one of the main things we're just going to start with is, you know, putting videos up online. And, you know, if we feature a dispensary or if we feature a strain of the month, now being able to actually go down there and, you know, film the dispensary or videotape the strain and just give the, you know, that cannabis consumer, that reader a better experience of it and make the decision if they want to go down there and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big proponent of video. Obviously, you guys should definitely do it.
Yeah,
you got an amazing brand. You should push that reach as far as you can.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah,
you know, we say our big, hairy, audacious goal around here is to be the largest cannabis brand in the world.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
That's big, right?
That's big. I like it. Well, we've come to my favorite part of the show here. I love to ask the guests about their own personal consumption of cannabis. What kind of strains do you like? How do you like to smoke? Do you like edibles? You know,
oh man,
what kind of doper are you? Does that word get used? Are we dopers?
I guess, you know.
What are people at dope called? Do you have like a name? Dopers?
No,
dopes is like
cannabis. Cannabis consumer, I guess.
Cannabis consumer.
Right.
Got
you
it.
know, when we're making fun of you, you're a doper. I mean, I'm not an edibles guy.
Me neither.
They just get me too messed up, you know. Yeah. I'm a daily cannabis consumer, but I usually don't consume during the day. I mean, I still, you know, if I consume cannabis, I still get high. And, you know, if there's certain things I need to work on or function, you know, it's more difficult to do if I'm designing a new logo or if I'm working on something. Yeah, cannabis helps with the creative side of it. But for me, I mean, personally, I have a little bit of back pain from, you know, probably years of football and, you know, car accidents. And I have a hard time sleeping. So I like, you know, purples, Kushes, UW purple, critical purple Kush, things like that.
And all flowers, or do you like concentrates as well?
I'm pretty much a flower guy. You know, I mean, I take a dab here and there, but
yeah, me too. If it's there, if you're offering, sure, but mostly like I want flowers.
If I have nothing to do and no one to see, if I take a dab, I'm out of commission.
Joints, bongs, vaporizers. How do you like
you know, yeah, I've got a bong in my house, and that's the majority of how I use it. But recently, I would say in the last 6 months to a year, it's really turned into joints. Part of it probably is Dope has its own joint pack that we've released, but also with recreational, there's so many good joints out there from different
pre-rolls.
Yeah, different pre-rolls from different producer processors where it's just simple and easy. And if you find a good one that actually uses flour and grinds it down, it's not like crappy trim. It's nice, good
It's
bud,
not like what fell on the floor or whatever. It's
and it's easy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always a red flag if the shop, dispensary, whatever we're calling these days, if they give it to you for free.
Yeah.
Probably not what you want to smell. Just my opinion.
Yeah,
but.
Free joints for everybody who walks through the door.
Yeah, I think it's really situational. I mean, I like joints a lot, particularly if it's social, right? If there's 2 or 3 people, it's great. I've been using the Vape XL a lot recently. You know what the Vape XL is? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a pretty cool product. It's kind of like a bong vaporizer combo. But yeah, I like a green crack a lot.
Yeah, green crack is good.
Terrible name. Awesome strain, though.
Yeah,
awesome
there's actually a strain of green crack that has been changed to Dragon's Breath.
Yeah,
was a new name that it got. So I like that name a little bit better.
Yeah, I've seen it as Green Dragon before.
Green Dragon,
too.
Yeah. And I like, I mean, you know, probably one of the most popular strains in the world, Blue Dream.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, there's just so many.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know. Well, this is where the branding comes in, right? Like we need somebody, the best person's Blue Dream.
Yeah.
Not just Blue Dream.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Well, that's the the race for cannabis brands probably really started a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy, you know. You used to go in and it's just, you know, the grower would bring in a bag of weed and sell it, and the dispensary or co-op puts it in its own jar, and you know, you just go in and kind of, what's good today, you know, and now you're really seeing, you know, or you'd go in and say, you know, do you have Blue Dream, or do you have, you know, Green Crack or God's Gift? And now you really start to see people, you know, building that brand loyalty, you know, and saying, oh, do you have, you know, Western Cultured in, or do you have Fat Panda or Dog Star, or whatever the brand may be. So it's interesting.
Which is exactly how it should be.
Yeah. Every other industry in the world, right?
Every other industry, yeah. Well, Trek, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us here. Plug some stuff. Dope.com, dopemagazine.com.
Yep, dopemagazine.com.
Twitter, Instagram.
Dope pin, hashtag dope, you know, do it all. Just live the dope lifestyle.
Dope lifestyle.
And support the cannabis industry and you know, let down the stigma of it's, you know, it's this crazy plant that kills people. It saves lives.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us here. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.